Namaste Bitya, myself JVN Neha Saini from Faculty of Physiotherapy and Diagnostics. Here I am going to tell you about the diabetes mellitus. Diabetes mellitus is a group of diseases which is caused by high levels of glucose resulting from defects in insulin production, insulin action, or both. The term diabetes mellitus describes the metabolic disorder of multiple etiology characterized by chronic hyperglycemia with disturbances of carbohydrate, fat, and protein metabolism, resulting from defects in the insulin secretion, insulin action, or both. The effects of diabetes mellitus include long term damage, dysfunction, and failure of various organs. Diabetes mellitus may present with characteristic symptoms such as thirst, polyuria, blurring of vision, and weight loss. In its most severe forms, ketoacidosis or non ketotic hyperosmolar state may develop and lead to stupor, coma, and in absence of effective treatment, will lead to death. Often symptoms are not severe or may be absent, and consequently, hyperglycemia sufficient to cause pathological and functional changes may be present for a long time before diagnosis is made. Now, the diabetes long term effects include the progressive development of specific complication of retinopathy with potential blindness, nephropathy that may lead to renal failure, or nephropathy with risk of foot ulcers, amputation, Charcot's joint, and features of autonomic dysfunction, including sexual dysfunction. People with diabetes are at risk of cardiovascular, peripheral vascular, and cerebrovascular diseases. There are two types of diabetes mellitus, type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus. In spite of that, gestational diabetes and other diabetes are LADA, MODY, and secondary diabetes mellitus are also there. So, in case of type 1 diabetes mellitus, it was previously called insulin dependent diabetes mellitus or IDDM or juvenile onset diabetes. Type 1 diabetes develops when body's immune system destroys the pancreatic beta cells, the only cells in the body that make the hormone insulin that regulates the blood glucose. This form of diabetes is usually strikes the children and young adults, although disease onset can occur at any age. Type 1 diabetes mellitus may account for 5 to 10% of all the diagnosed cases of diabetes. Risk factors for this may include autoimmune, genetic, and environmental factors. In case of diabetes type 2, it was previously known as non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus or adult onset diabetes. Type 2 may account for about 90 to 95% of all diagnosed cases of diabetes. It usually begins as insulin resistance, a disorder in which the cells do not use insulin properly. As the need for insulin rises, the pancreas gradually loses its ability to produce insulin. Type 2 diabetes is associated with older age, obesity, family history, history of gestational diabetes, impaired glucose metabolism, physical inactivity, and race. African Americans, Latino Americans, American Indians, and some Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians are other Pacific Islanders. All are risk for type 2 diabetes. It is increasingly being diagnosed in children and adolescents. So here we have distinguished between type 1 and type 2 diabetes. In type 1 diabetes, the insulin is diminished. Insulin is not forming up to the mark, up to the requirement. While in type 2, insulin is produced in adequate amount, but it is not received by the cells. So this is the type 2 diabetes. And this is the diagram to show you how the balance of glucose is maintained in our body. The normal glucose level in our body is less than 110 milligram per dilution. When there is increase in the blood glucose level, it will send a message to the pancreas that will release insulin into the blood. This insulin causes the muscle and other cells to use glucose as an energy source or convert it into glycogen, and this will result into decrease in the level of blood glucose level. If this level decreases very much less, then it will result into the alpha cells of the pancreas to release glucagon into the blood. This glucagon converts glycogen to the glucose, and it will result into again increase in the blood glucose level. So this is the main homeostasis. This maintains the homeostasis of the glucose in blood of our body. Now the next diabetes type is the gestational diabetes. This gestational diabetes means at the time of pregnancy some women experiences the diabetes which is known as gestational diabetes. It occurs more frequently in the African Americans, Hispanic Americans, American Indians, also common to obese women and women with family history of diabetes. During pregnancy, gestational diabetes require treatment to normalize maternal glucose levels to avoid complications in the infant. After pregnancy, 5 to 10% of women with gestational diabetes are found to have type 2 diabetes. Women who have had gestational diabetes have 20 to 50% chance of developing the diabetes in the next 5 to 10 years. Other specific diabetes result from specific genetic conditions like maturity onset diabetes of youth, surgery, drugs, malnutrition, infections, and other illness. Such type of diabetes may account for 1 to 5% of all diagnosed cases of diabetes. Next is LADA, that is latent autoimmune disease. Diabetes in adults is a form of autoimmune type 1 diabetes which is diagnosed in individuals who are older than usual age of onset of type 1 diabetes. Alternate terms that have been used for LDA include late onset autoimmune diabetes of adulthood, slow onset type 1 diabetes, and sometimes also known as type 1.5. Often patients with LADA are mistakenly thought to have type 2 diabetes based on their age at the time of diagnosis. So these are the features of LADA. Patients usually at the age of more than 25 years. Clinical presentation is masquerading as a non-obese type 2 diabetes. Initial control achieved with diet alone or diet and oral hypoglycemic agents. Insulin dependency occurs within months but can take 10 years or more. Next is MODY. MODY, maturity onset diabetes of the young. It is a monogenic form of diabetes with an autosomal dominant mode of inheritance. Mutation in any one of several transcription factors or in the enzyme glucokinase lead to insufficient insulin release from the pancreatic beta cells, causing MODY. Different subtypes of MODY are identified based on the mutated gene. However, genetic testing has shown that MODY can also occur at any age and that a family history of diabetes is not obvious. Secondary diabetes mellitus include the causes of acromegaly, Cushing syndrome, thyrotoxicosis, pheochromocytoma, chronic pancreatitis, cancer, or drug-induced hyperglycemia, which causes atypical antipsychotics like, so these are the drugs like atypical antipsychotics. They alter the receptor binding characteristics leading to increased insulin resistance. Beta blockers, they also inhibit insulin secretion. Calcium channel blockers, they inhibit secretion of insulin by interfering with cytosolic calcium release. Corticosteroids, they cause peripheral insulin resistance and gluconeogenesis. Fluoroquinolones, they inhibit insulin secretion by blocking ATP sensitive potassium channels. Niacin is also a drug which causes increased insulin resistance due to increased free fatty acid mobilization. Phenothiazines, they also inhibit insulin secretion. Protease inhibitors, they inhibit the conversion of proinsulin to insulin. So these kinds of drugs will lead to secondary diabetes mellitus. Now pre-diabetes, impaired glucose intolerance and impaired fasting glucose. Pre-diabetes is a term used to distinguish people who are at increased risk of developing diabetes. People with pre-diabetes have impaired fasting glucose or impaired glucose tolerance. Some people may have both impaired fasting glucose and impaired glucose tolerance. Impaired fasting glucose is the condition in which fasting glucose level is elevated after overnight fast but is not high enough to be classified as diabetes. In case of impaired glucose tolerance is a condition in which blood sugar level is elevated but is not high to be classified as diabetes. So progression to diabetes among those with pre-diabetes is not inevitable. Studies suggested weight loss and increased physical activity among people with pre-diabetes prevent or delay diabetes and may return the blood glucose level to normal. People with pre-diabetes are already at risk for other adverse health outcomes such as heart disease and stroke. Now, diagnosis of diabetes. What can be diagnosed with the help of a blood test, fasting, or both. In case of fasting, diabetes can be detected when it is more than 6.1 units, and in case of impaired glucose tolerance, it is less than 6.1 units. So this is the diagnostic values for the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus and other categories of hyperglycemia. Now, prevention or delay of diabetes can be done by lifestyle modification. Like research studies have found that lifestyle changes can prevent or delay the onset of type 2 diabetes among high risk adults. So these studies included people with impaired glucose tolerance and other high risk characteristics for developing diabetes. Lifestyle interventions included diet and moderate intensity physical activity such as walking for 2.5 hours each week. So in the diabetes prevention program, a large prevention study of people at high risk for diabetes, the development of diabetes was reduced to 58% over 3 years. Now, prevention can also be done by medications. Studies have shown that medications have been successful in preventing diabetes in some population groups. In the diabetes prevention program, people treated with drug named as metformin, which reduced their risk of developing diabetes by 31% over 3 years. So treatment with metformin was most effective among younger, heavier people and less effective among older people, and people were not as overweight. Similarly, in the Stop Needham trial, treatment with people with IGT, the drug acarbose reduced the risk of developing diabetes by 25% over 3 years. Other medication studies are ongoing, and in addition to preventing progression of IGT to diabetes, both lifestyle changes and medication have been shown to increase the probability of reverting from IGT to normal glucose intolerance. Now, management of diabetes mellitus can be done by diet and exercise, oral hypoglycemic therapy and insulin therapy. In case of diet, it is a basic part of management in every case, and treatment cannot be effective unless adequate attention is given to ensuring the appropriate nutrition. So dietary treatment should aim at ensuring weight control, providing nutritional requirement, allowing good glycemic control with blood glucose level as close to normal as possible, and correcting any associated blood lipid abnormalities. Exercise. The physical activity promotes weight reduction, improves insulin sensitivity, thus lowering the blood glucose level. Together with dietary treatment, a program of regular physical activity and exercise should be considered for each person. Such a program must be tailored to the individual's health status and fitness. People should, however, be educated about the potential risk of hypoglycemia and how to avoid it. Oral anti-diabetic drugs. These are the currently 4 classes of anti-diabetic drugs like biguanides, insulin secretagogues, non-sulfonylureas, alpha glucosidase inhibitors, and thiazolidinones. So patients should be educated to self-practice and self-care. This allows the patient to assume responsibility and to control his or her diabetes management. Self-care should include blood glucose monitoring, body weight monitoring, foot care, personal hygiene, healthy lifestyle, identify targets for control, stopping smoking. Now the questions which can be important for your examination. These are write short note on causes of diabetes mellitus, and second is management of diabetes mellitus. This exercise is for your file. You have to draw this schematic representation of diabetes type 1 and type 2 diabetes mellitus, which is giving the idea, the knowledge about the various causes for the diabetes mellitus. So this completes our topic, the diabetes. Thank you.